Okay, salutations, Nyasha. How are you? So, we are going to continue with inverse operations. This time, we're looking at subtraction. Okay, so inverse operations are the way we check our work. Okay, so just like we were doing with the multiplication and division, you can do the same thing with addition and subtraction. So we're doing our numbers up to the 10,000s, and we're going to subtract and add to check our own work. Okay, so let's see. We're going to start. Our first problem is 10,383 minus 2,197. Okay, so remember, anytime you're writing, you're always going to carry down your commas. Okay, also when we subtract, we make sure we subtract by column. Okay, finally, if you have two sums and the sum is bigger on the bottom than it is, not the sum on the bottom is usually going to be smaller, but if the individual columns as they align, like in the ones column, the number is bigger on the bottom than it is on the top, what do you have to do? Regroup. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to use the things that we already know. You're going to use your prior knowledge to be able to effectively solve this problem. Okay, and I do it all the time. I forget. Okay, who's beautiful? You are. Who's intelligent? You are. What makes you beautiful? Your heart, your spirit, your tenacity, your resilience, and your persistence. Because you can do all things through who? Christ who strengthens you. Okay? And you're blessed from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Having said that, my wonderful, beautiful scholar, let's get to work. Okay? So, if our problem is 10,383 minus 2,197, how are we going to find the answer? Simple. All right, let's begin. So one of the things we can do to make it easier is to divide like this. I don't think you have to do that anymore, but in case you do, I did it. All right. So now, in the ones column, what do we have? 3 minus 7. Okay, so the sum on the bottom is bigger than the sum on the top, correct? So what do we have to do? We have to go next door and borrow, right? But look here, the sum on, let's just take it one at a time. Okay, so now we're going to borrow one set of 10 from 8. Okay, so now that becomes a 7. All right, the 3 is going to become a what? A 13. Okay, what is 13 minus 7? You can count backwards if you need to, or you can use your mental math. 13 minus 7 is what? 6. Absolutely. Okay, now when we look at the next column, the tens column, we have a 7, but we have to subtract 9. Okay, where is the bigger number? The number is bigger on the bottom. Okay, so you can't take away 9 from 7 without getting a negative quantity. All right, and we're not dealing with any negative numbers. So what do we have to do? We're going to have to borrow 1 from the hundreds column. There's a 3 in the hundreds column. So instead of it being a 3, it's going to become a 2, and the 7 becomes 17. So what is 17 minus 9? 8. What's 2 minus 1? 1. Let's bring down that comma. What is 10? Okay, because in this case, it doesn't even make sense to regroup, because if you regroup for the 0, you're still going to have 10. So what you're going to do is subtract all the numbers in front of the comma. So instead of saying 0 minus 2, you just say, what is 10 minus 2? Okay? And that may be a little bit confusing because you're kind of breaking out of like regular process, because normally what we would have done was regrouped, but it's no need to, because even if you regroup, you're still going to have a 10. Okay? So what's 10 minus 2? 8. Correct. So now we've gotten our answer. Okay? So the answer 10,383 minus 2,197 is 8,186. But how do we know if that's correct? We don't. So what we're going to do is we're going to move, we're going to bring this 8,186 from the bottom here, and we're going to put it on the top. Okay? So we're going to move our answer here from the bottom and put it on the top, and we're going to do the inverse operation or the opposite operation to figure out if our answer is correct. Okay? So up top here we should have 8,186. Okay? So now let's add. What is 6 plus 7? You can use your fingers if you need to. I'm going to wait a moment to get you to calculate it. 6 plus 7 is what? Absolutely 13. Now, what do we do with that 1? That's right, we put it over in the tens column. So now we have 8 plus 9 plus 1, which is essentially 9 plus 9. What is our answer? 18, correct. 18, carry the 1. So what do we have? What is the total of our hundreds column? 3. Okay, now, what is 8 plus 2? 10. So now, what we have is that our answer says that 8,186 plus 2,197 is 10,383. Is that the sum that we began with? Yes, it is. And so that means that we effectively answered that question. So, since these two sums are equal, right? These two sums are equal. 10,383 is equal to 10,383, which is the number we began with. So we were able to effectively solve that problem, and our answer is correct. So what we can do is give ourselves a check mark. Okay? We give ourselves a check mark because it's correct. Okay? Now, let's do another problem. We're going to follow the same steps. I'm going to say the problem out loud as I write it. You have your pen and paper, and you can write as well, okay? All right. So let's see. Our next problem is 5,592 minus 1,627. All right. Now, what we're going to do is do the same thing, because once we've solved the problem, we should be able to plug it in, do the inverse operation, and check our work. Okay? Okay, so now, this is what your paper should look like. This is our original problem. It's a subtraction problem. Okay? So you have 5,592 minus 1,627. So when you're writing and we're dealing with multi-digit numbers, you want to make sure that you are neat and careful in making sure you line up all the columns, especially as we add more columns, because we're only in the ten thousands now, but hopefully we will move into the 100,000s, and that means it's going to be a more complicated problem. And so it's really important that your work is neat and you're able to follow what you're doing. Okay? So now, so we leave space for our answer or the difference. Now over here, the answer, once we get the answer here, we're going to bring it up to the top, okay? And then we're going to use the inverse operation or the opposite operation in order to solve the problem, okay? So we'll do that. We've already written it here. So we're going to add again 1,627 to our answer. to find out if we come out with a sum that is equal, oops, this should be down here, that is equal to our answer. Okay, so when we finish with the inverse operation, okay, so when we finish with the inverse operation, these sums should be equal. Okay? Goodness. No, actually not. Those sums should be equal. Mommy got a little scatterbrain. Forgive me, Niaja. When we do the inverse operation, the sum up top, which is 5,592, should be equal to this sum, 5,592. That's what we should get right here. Okay? So, like I said, I know you don't necessarily need me to divide the columns anymore, or you shouldn't, but I'll do it just in case, and then we're going to get to work. All right? So now, we're subtracting. So here, again, we have a number, a sum, that is smaller on the bottom than we have on the top. So what do we need to do? We have to regroup, okay? So in order to effectively regroup, we're going to have to borrow a 10 from the tens column, okay? So what does that mean? It means that the 2 becomes 12, the 9 becomes 8, and we solve, all right? So what is 12 minus 7? What's 12 minus 7? Did you guess 5? Not guess. Did you get 5? Absolutely. 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay. What is 8 minus 2? Because it was a 9, but we gave 10 away, so it's an 8. So what is 8 minus 2? 6. Now, when we get to the hundreds column, you see here that you have a 5 and a 6, right? A 5 up top and a 6 on the bottom. All right? So, with the 5 up top, what do we need to do? In order for us to be able to solve this effectively, we have to regroup. That's right. So we're going to go to the thousands and we're going to borrow 10. So now this is no longer a 5. So now the 5 is no longer a 5. It's a what? It's a 4. Okay. And the 5 is no longer a 5 because it got a 10. So it's now what? 15. Very good. Okay. So what is 15 minus 6? 9. Very good. Okay, now we need to bring our comma down. So now, what's 4 minus 1? 3. Very good. So our final answer is 3,965. We have 3,965. 3,965. Okay. We have, so now let's bring that up top, 3,965. So now let's add. What's 5 plus 7? 12. So we carry the 1. So now, essentially, we have 1 plus 6 plus 2. So that's 7 plus 2. That's 9. Okay? Then you have a 9 plus 6. What's that? 15. We carry the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. So our final answer is 5,592. That needs to be equal to the sum on this side, 5,592. So did we solve our problem effectively? Yes, we did. So because 5,592 is equal to 5,592, which was the starting sum at the beginning of this particular mathematical operation. Okay? So we have, we're going to do, I'm going to give you 2 to do, and then we'll do another one just to kind of follow up, and that will conclude this particular math problem. And again, this math session. Again, the focus is inverse operations. And inverse operations is when we utilize the opposite operation in order to check our work. So inverse just means opposite. Okay? So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to write the next 2 problems and then we'll go from there. Okay? I'll be right back. All right. So let's work on our last 3 problems here. Okay? Now, we had this in this problem. Remember, we have been checking our work. How are we doing that? We are going to make sure we subtract. Okay, that's the first operation, mathematical operation we're going to do. Then we're going to do the inverse operation in order to check our work, knowing that our final sum should be equal to the sum that we started with. Okay, so we've already written our sums here. Okay, and we have to make sure that they're equal, and that's how we check our work. Okay, all right, so now let's look at our first problem. This time I'm not going to divide the columns because I know that you can do it, and I know that that's not something that you need me to do. Okay, but remember, if in each column, if the number on the bottom is bigger than the number on the top, you already know you have to regroup, and we regroup by adding or borrowing 10 from the column next door. Okay? So now let's see. If we have 5 take away 7, okay? 5 take away 7. There's no way we can complete that without getting a negative number. So we're going to have to do what? We regroup. Okay? So now we're going to borrow 1 from the tens column. Okay? Because we're in the ones column. So the 2 will become a 1. All right? And the 5 becomes what? 15. Okay, because we add 10. So now, what is 15 take away 7? What's 15 take away 7? 8. Very good. Very good. So now we have an 8 in the ones column. We're going to do what? 1 minus 0 is what? 1. Okay, one thing I haven't been doing is making sure you wrote down all the problems. I'm sorry about that. I'll make sure that I do better with that on the next one, okay? What does 3 take away 2? 1. Very good. All right. What's 9 take away 7? 2. So our problem, the answer to the difference, if you subtract 9,325, if you subtract 7,207 from 9,325, the difference is 2,118. Okay? So now, if we'd like to check our work by way of inverse operation, we're going to take our difference and move it up here to the top of the column, okay? So it's down here, 2,118. We're going to move it from here up to the top of this problem, okay? So now, let's add. We have 2,118 plus 7,207. Okay, 2,118 plus 7,207. Let's add. What is 8 plus 7? 15. Carry over a 1. What's 1 plus 1? 2. What's 1 plus 2? 3. Bring in our comma. What's 2 plus 9? 7 plus 2? or 2 plus 7, pardon me. What's 2 plus 7? 9. Okay, so now, are our two final sums equal? 9,325. Is that equal to 9,325? Yes, they are. So 9,325 is equal to 9,325. Okay. All right. Let's look at our next problem. We have 4,937 minus 1,828. 4,937 minus 1,828. Okay, so write that out. 4,937 minus 1,858. You can pause the tape if you need to. Pause the video, I should say. Okay. So now, let's get to work. What is 7 minus 8? We can't subtract 8 from 7 without getting a negative number, so what do we have to do? Regroup. All right, so let's regroup. How do we regroup? Did you say borrow 10 from the tens column? Because if you did, you're absolutely right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to borrow 10 from the tens column. So this 3 becomes a 2. The 7 becomes a 17. What is 17 minus 8? What is 17 minus 8? 9. Very good. 2 minus 2? 0. 9 minus 8? 1. What's 4 minus 1? 3. Very good. So now we have 3,109, right? 3,109. Okay. So now let's take that difference and bring it up to the top of this problem, and we're going to re-add it to see if we correctly solved our problem. Okay. So we have 3,109. Let's add. What's 9 plus 8? 17. Carry the 1. What's 1 plus 2? 3. What's 1 plus 8? 9. What is 3 plus 1? 4. So now, when we end at the end of our problem, is 4,937 equal to 4,937? If our sums are equal, it means we've done what? Correctly answered our problem. So these are both correct. Okay? Okay? Those are both correct. All right? So now we're going to do our final problem together. Okay? This time we have 27,523 minus 24,000, we have 27,523 minus 24,315. Okay? This is a math problem. I know sometimes you like to really take your time and make it really neat. So you can pause the video. Okay, if that's the case, because I know I'm not giving you a whole lot of time to pause, so you can go ahead and pause the video if you need more time to be able to write down the problem properly. Okay, and we've already set it up so that we can check our work. But right now, let's just focus on solving the problem, okay? All right, so now let's take a look. If we have 27,523 and we need to subtract 24,315, how do we do so? Okay, this is what we're going to do. Break it down column by column. Even though the numbers are big, the process is the same. You take it ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s, and beyond. Okay, one step at a time. Okay, so we're going to start with our ones column. There's a 3 on the top and a 5 on the bottom. So when there's more on the floor, we do what? Go next door. So we have to go over to the tens column and say, hey, can you give us a 10 because we don't have enough? So that's what we're going to do. So now the 2 that was in the tens column becomes a 1. Okay, the 3 becomes a 13. So what is 13 minus 5? 8. Very good. What's 1 minus 1? 0. Because if you have 1 and you take away 1, you have none. Okay, what is 5 minus 3? 2. What's 7 minus 4? 3. And what's 2 minus 2? 0. So we don't have to write a 0 at the front because we know it's understood that there's nothing there. So now we're going to take this 3,208 that we had down here on the bottom, and we're going to put it up on the top so we can check our work. Okay, so now what is 8 plus 5? 13. Carry the 1. What's 1 plus 1? 2. What's 2 plus 3? 5. What's 3 plus 4? 7. What's 0 plus 2? 2. So now, in the end, our sum is 27,523. In the end, our sum is 27,523. Are these two sums equal? 27,523 equal to 27,523? They are, and because they are correct, we know that we've effectively solved this problem. Okay? Okay, so now, that is how we check our work using inverse operations with addition and subtraction. Okay? So again, the inverse operation just means the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. We can use them interchangeably to correct our work as needed. Okay? So now, those are the problems that we've worked on. Okay? If you'd like, you and your dad can create your own, practice them, and then let me know how you do. Why don't you do a video and leave it for me so I can see how you do it and you explain it to me? I'd really like that. Okay? So, I love you, baby. I love you to the moon and around every star, every single day. And I hope you're having a really, really wonderful day. All right.